Hey, um, I just wanted to express something that I've been trying to figure out if how I wanted to do this for a while. I'm a pretty private person, as probably a lot of people have noticed. I don't get on social media much. I don't like to spend a lot of time on it, and mostly because, yeah, like I'm pretty private about my life. And um, I've been debating on how I wanted to do this. Oh God, I'm so nervous. Um, uh, yeah, I just feel like this is going to be probably the fastest way to put this out there, um, because I know that there are some people who are probably wondering or concerned who, like are coming from the best places in their hearts. But I just don't want to keep up any sort of facade. Um, and I just also don't want this to be something that I have a bunch of people contacting me over. So I'm just going to put it out there. So normally I don't really care when people do stuff like this, but I kind of get why they do. But I'm just going to put it out there. So I am walking away from the Mormon church. I've been raised Mormon my whole life. A lot of you know that. Yeah, I was raised in the church. And just to give like a brief idea of where I'm coming from, I would like to first preface by saying that I've walked away according to the Mormon standard of worthiness. I with my temple recommend intact. I'm not walking away because I just needed some excuse or because I just couldn't hack it anymore, or I wanted to do sinful things, or all the other kind of ridiculous presupposed judgments that are often put in our minds as members of the church, that I shamefully also used to apply to people, which I'm very sorry for. I just want to make that clear. I'm not walking away because I need an excuse. I'm walking away because there are so many reasons to. And that really started for me with noticing from a very young age, like the amount of sexism. I know there's going to be a ton of pushback on that, but it's just outright sexism. And what really compounded that for me was learning about polygamy at 17 and being really, really disturbed by that, sick to my stomach. Still makes me sick to my stomach. But it was one of those things that, I put on my proverbial shelf, as they say. And I thought it would be something that maybe I would eventually come to peace with and come to understand, or something later in my life as I grew and matured more and studied and prayed more. After getting married to my husband and going through the temple, I thought the temple might provide some comfort or answers. I got nothing there. And then after marrying my husband, especially, it became more and more prevalent in my mind. And I just I couldn't put it aside anymore. So I started doing what I thought I was supposed to do. I started doing what I was told to do, which is study, pray, do everything you can, seek out the best books, words of wisdom, all that stuff. I stayed within the little boxed in confines of the gospel library. That's such a red flag now that I look back on that. If any sort of leadership is telling you not to look anywhere except one place for information that they have complete and full control over, That's a huge red flag. In no other circumstances, I think, would most people in the church accept that from any other leader. But for some reason in the Mormon church, that's okay. That honestly, in my mind, is the very definition of blind faith. And I realized how much blind faith I've had to actually apply through my membership and my time in the church, which makes no sense. But yeah, I felt that going through all that, everything that I learned in the gospel library, everything just led to more concern, more questions, more frustration, more anger, and more feeling put in this position of being othered as a woman in the church and feeling even less valuable than a man. And then I started reading books by members who had taken like actual documents, writings from these historical figures, and compiling them without any bias, without any prejudice, and it just spiraled from there, because you really can't refute or argue with the actual evidence and facts. And it's just so much more than that. But for me, it's really began with that. It really did. And that's really one of my biggest, most compelling reasons to walk away. I have not lost my faith. I don't like calling this a loss of faith or a faith crisis. A lot of people who leave say that, and I think that verbiage is triggering on the Mormon brain just because when we're super active, we tend to interpret that differently than people who leave. So I do not feel that I've lost my faith in my Savior, in deity. I have just uncovered the truth about a charlatan, and I know that's going to offend a lot of people, but that is what Joseph Smith is to me. I have no respect for him. His idea of heaven is my personal hell, and I do not believe that that is all I have to look forward to, is this loveless future of eternity where I'm basically one in a million to my husband, and I'm barefoot and pregnant for eternity. And not only that, but that any spirit children that I have, I will be essentially faceless, nameless, and barely acknowledged ever, because all the glory would go to my husband. And a son, apparently, because I guess in like Mormon doctrine, creation happens between father and son. I find that really incredibly odd, especially since we parallel so much of what we believe in the next life to how it is in this life. And if this life has taught me anything, it's that I actually do most of the creation work. And I want women especially to understand and know how valuable you are, and that the sexism within these doctrines and ideas I find personally offensive, and I feel like you should take serious consideration of that, because you are way more than what this doctrine tells you that you are. I just won't accept that, and I've never felt in my heart that that was truth. It makes no sense, and there's so much more to the history. I've dug full, and I've headfirst dove into that and found out even more beyond just polygamy. But we've been lied to, we've been deceived, we've been manipulated, and I'm actually very angry about that right now, because I've wasted 35 years of my life. abiding by ideas that survived a man who compared himself next unto Christ, who was compared next unto Christ by every subsequent prophet, essentially. His ideas have impacted the course of my life, how I thought, how I behaved, my bodily autonomy, the involvement of my family. Sorry. That probably makes me the most mad. I gave up. I feel like some really big things in the name of what I thought what God wanted. And I just want to be clear that I'm not unhappy for leaving the church. I feel so relieved, and it's been a huge, huge relief on my mental health. I'm upset because of the betrayal. And I have no respect for any of the leadership in the church. And I know that this will probably make some people mad or defensive. It's fine. I get it. I was there once. And who am I? I mean, in the church, we're really only taught to listen to essentially like a few people at the top who, by the way, are all men. But at least I'm not going to pretend to claim to commune directly with God or to see the Lord in person in the temple or tell you that I'm a prophet. I'm not a liar. So that's all I have to say about that. And I just essentially want to put it out there that I'm done. And I don't wish to be bothered about this topic by people who are concerned about my involvement or membership. It's not you. It has everything to do with all the truth and information and the people at the top. So thanks for listening. And obviously, like, I love all the people that have been involved in my life in the church. I've had a lot of good experiences, and there are things that I am grateful I was raised in the church for. Not everything is bad. So I want to be fair. And I just want anyone to know that just because I don't want to be bothered about the topic of being involved in church itself doesn't mean I don't want to still remain friends or in contact with the people that I've come to know and love. I'm not trying to create any sort of division there. I just don't want to be bothered about the church. So thanks for anyone who listened and that this actually pertains to.